Evening. Welcome to our conference room edition of the Zoning Board. Mr. Next door, thank you for accommodating us in our new location here. Hopefully it's just temporary. This is the Bridgewater Township Zoning Board of Adjustment, Tuesday, October 28, 2025, regular meeting. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6. Specifically on January 15, 2025, proper notice was sent to the Courier News and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Township of Bridgewater, and posted on the municipal bulletin board. Please be aware of zoning board adjustment policy for public hearings. No new applications will be heard after 9:30 p.m., and any testimony will be taken after 10. If you're able, please rise for the salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Nancy. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Foose.
Here.
Mr. Wadley.
Here.
Mrs. Amin. Here. Mr. Sweeney.
Here.
Mr. Fresco.
Here.
Mr. Bongiorno.
Here.
Mr. Gajewski.
Here.
Mr. Seacat.
Here.
Mr. Kulak.
Here.
Mr. Vesio.
Here.
Mr. Gabbett.
Here.
Mr. Aller.
Here.
Board Attorney. Our Board Engineer, Bill Burr, will not be present. Catherine Sarmat. Here. Planner. You have a quorum. You can proceed.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to open up the meeting to members of the public that would like to speak on any land use issue that's not on the agenda tonight. You can come forward to the dais here. See none, we're going to close that. Jim, you have a quick announcement?
Yes, I just wanted, we had to do a switch. We do this almost every year over to this room from the courtroom because early voting is going on and we're not allowed to use it. And just wanted to thank Brian from the township for setting this room up for us and did a very nice job to accommodate everybody.
I know we were this close to canceling this, right? Nancy and Brian bailed us out.
Very close.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you again in this room this time next year.
I was going to advocate for skipping this meeting next year, but whatever your pleasure, Chairman.
Yeah, if I'm back, we can definitely talk about it. And again, thanks for everything. Minutes, we have two sets. Let's do February 25th, 2025 first up. I know changes were sent via email a little bit later today.
Anyone but Mr. Gajewski can motion or second that.
All right, any additional changes or comments from the board?
I move.
All right, there's a motion.
Second.
Mr. Bongiorno is the second. Just yay or nay? Anyone against? Everyone for yay?
Yay.
Yay.
Second set, July 22nd, 2025. Looking for changes, comments?
Anyone but Mr. Fresco, Mr. Gajewski, Mr. Kulak, Mr. Gabbett.
You good, Mrs. Amin?
You okay?
Good? Okay. Mrs. Amin's good, I'm good.
I move.
All right.
I
Motion.
second.
Second with Mr. Bongiorno. Everyone in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolutions, Rich?
No resolutions tonight.
All right. Why don't you take us through who we're going to hear tonight and what the status is?
Yes, so two matters on the agenda, Stanley and Margaret Kowitz, 756 Harding Road is being heard this evening. The second matter on the agenda, Bridgewater Self-Storage for 351 Route 28 and 322 Route 22 is not being heard. That matter is being adjourned until December 9th, 2025 for future scheduling purposes only, unless one of the other two matters for the December 9th meeting cancel for some reason.
So odds are that'll be into the new year unless we have a case that
Perhaps.
opens up.
Correct. All right, so for the public, if anyone's here for the Bridgewater Self-Storage matter, it will not be heard this evening. Instead, it will be heard on December 9th, 2025 in the municipal courtroom. There'll be no further notices from the applicant.
All right, very good. All right, so next up we have 756 Harding Road. Mr. Silver, good evening,
Yes,
sir.
good evening, Chairman Foose, and members of the board, township professionals, and members of the public. For the record, my name is Michael Silver, and I'm an attorney at the law firm Murphy, Schiller & Wilkes, located in Newark, New Jersey, and it's a privilege to be here this evening.
New law firm?
New law firm.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here on behalf of Stanley, Mr. and Mrs. Wojtowicz, the owners of 756 Harding Road, Block 477, Lot 7, located in the R40 Zone District. This application seeks D&C variance relief to formalize and legalize longstanding uses on the Wedekovich property, uses that have existed for more than 40 years without controversy and with the applicant's belief that everything on the property was permitted. The property consists of roughly 63,000 square feet. It's irregular in shape, heavily wooded and screened on all sides. There are two principal structures, a two-story single-family home on the northern portion, and then farther back, about 300 feet from Harding Road, there's a two-story garage, workshop, and office building that I'll refer to tonight as the commercial structure. And behind that, there's a small storage yard and parking area. That commercial structure, as evidenced by the certificate of occupancy, was built in the early 1980s, in 1984, so over 40 years ago, and the applicant obtained a CO for it at that time, and it was inspected and approved, and Mr. Wedekovich will testify to that. Mr. Wedekovich has operated his family business, Wedekovich Construction, Inc., from this property since 1981. It's a small family-run general construction company that handles home renovations, additions, and light commercial work. The business has really been part of the Bridgewater fabric for nearly 5 decades. And in fact, Mr. Wedekovich is a lifelong resident of this township, longtime volunteer with the Green Knoll Volunteer Fire Company, and he's also been recipient of Somerset County Spirit of Giving Award for his community service. Over the years, Wedekovich Construction has been called upon many times by Bridgewater Township itself, serving as a preferred contractor for maintenance and repair work for the very municipal complex we sit in. And Mr. Wedekovich has also provided renovations and repairs for multiple volunteer fire department companies' locations since the 1980s. I think that sheds some important context because it shows that the township has long been aware of the company's operations at the property and presence in the community. For more than 35 years, there were no complaints or enforcement actions, no disputes with neighbors, really nothing. The operation was quiet, consistent, respectful of its neighbors, and the Wedekovich family has always maintained the property, cooperated with its neighbors, and intentionally kept the operations on the property very modest in scale. In 2019, there was a property maintenance complaint lodged against Mr. Wedekovich, so not a zoning issue, and of course Mr. Wedekovich responded immediately. So he added, in the pictures you'll see, but he added significant fencing to his property, planted screening trees, and he even adjusted the travel routes for the company vehicles to avoid creating any perceived disturbance. So he's very proactive and that evidenced the steps that he took to resolve that issue. And there were no further complaints for the next 5 years forward. In December 2024, after decades and decades of peaceful operation, the applicant received his first and only zoning violation. And candidly, if the board's not aware of this, the violation did not arise because of something that Mr. Wedekovich did on his property. There wasn't some sudden change or anything like that. It arose for an entirely different reason. There was another neighbor who, to my knowledge, has since sold the property, but living up the street towards Harding Road, had paved over a substantial portion of his property to conduct a paving business from the lot, allegedly without approvals. And again, this is all allegedly. But when that was discovered, he allegedly attempted to deflect attention to Mr. Wedekovich, saying, "I'm just doing what's allowed, look at the property next to me." And it put the township zoning officer in a position where he was, and rightfully so, he inspected Mr. Wedekovich's property and subsequently issued a violation. And for the record, the zoning violation issued by Mr. Lethwaite cited a violation for conducting a business in the R40 zone, characterizing it as an impermissible home occupation due to the scale of the operations on the property. Now, I certainly don't fault the zoning officer for issuing the notice, and based on what he observed, and in the absence of clear historical records, which is really why we're here this evening, it was reasonable to determine this under the ordinance. But again, that's why we're here this evening. So the truth is that the business is operated precisely in the same manner, with the same structure, the same scale, the same types of vehicles and same activity since it opened in the early 1980s. And at a minimum, historically, it was treated as a lawful home occupation. So I'm framing this first off as a fairness issue, as I see it. And I'd ask the board to consider how something can be treated as acceptable and permitted for over 40 years and relied upon by the township itself and operated without incident or nuisance can suddenly be deemed unlawful, really because of the result of another neighbor who paved the majority of his property. So we're not here to expand the use, intensify it. We're not here to change anything. We're really here to formalize what's been there and here to listen to the board. If the board believes that there's anything that we can do better with the property, we're here to listen to that and implement that as possible. I'm not going to go over the operations on the property. Mr. Wojtkovic is going to do that. But if you look at the application materials, you're going to see a very well-screened, well-kept property. There's no street signage at Harding Road. There's no showroom. There's no lighting glare. So the structure is set as far back from the street as it really realistically can be, and it's invisible from public view virtually. So this case was difficult for me from a land use perspective because unfortunately the records from the 1980s and the 1990s were incomplete at the township, so I wasn't able to locate them. I did obviously submit a number of OPA requests, as did the applicant, and unfortunately what we were able to uncover was that certificate of occupancy that was enclosed in the materials as well. I don't recall if I submitted it. I may not have because there weren't any violations, but there were no violations. I think I submitted the singular violation as to why we're here. What I did find through looking through the county's records was actually a recorded subdivision plat from the early 1990s. I can't tell the board when it was approved. I can only tell the board when it was signed and recorded. And so the property was subdivided at that time in the early 1990s and approved by the township's planning board. So while I don't have a resolution, presumably that resolution granted the subdivision approval and also addressed what you'll see in the professional reports and in the application materials, an overage on lot coverage. I have provided historic aerials, which we can get into, but you'll see that the coverage on the property is nearly identical to the coverage on the property back to the early 90s, which evidences to me that if your township's planning board heard an application on the property and agreed to subdivide it, they most likely, but I have no resolution to give you, granted variance relief for the overage that you're seeing on the property today. It also tells us something that the township again seems to have had knowledge of the uses. It did go to the planning board, so that suggests that it suggests that the township either determined at that time the use was permitted or that they missed what was happening on the property. But given Mr. Wojtkovic's longstanding relationship with the township, I find it hard to believe that the township was unaware of what was happening on the property.
So Mike, that's an important point here. So you're saying that had the town not recognized it, it would have had to go to the zoning board at that point, but because it went to the planning board, inherently it was an approved and known use.
Well, I'm suggesting that, but I'm not saying that affirmatively. But yes, in my opinion, if the township knew of the use and characterized it as too intense to be considered a home occupation, then yes, it absolutely would have had to have gone to the zoning board.
And that would have been a public hearing, and those neighbors would have been noticed, just like tonight's hearing.
Yes, and the neighbors, and of course there was a public hearing. A use variance wouldn't have been included in the legal notice back in the early 90s, but nonetheless there would have been a public hearing back then in the early 90s, and members of the public at that time, if there were any concerns with the property, certainly would have been able to avail themselves before the board at that time to notify the board that perhaps there was something that shouldn't have happened on the property or existing. So
you feel confident in telling this board that there was a public land use matter where notice was proven and substantiated, and it was in the 90s and it was in front of the plan?
Yes, I do feel comfortable, although I did note that there wouldn't have been a use variance included in that notice,
Right.
but every member of the board and as well as members of the public have access to this. They can see that I included the plat that was filed with the county, and it was signed by by the board chairman at that time in 1995. But the first signature by the surveyors from 1989. So that's why I have a range of early 90s, and I don't know exactly when the approval took
Who's the
place.
signatory?
I have a question for you, Mr. Silver.
Yes, give me one. I just want to answer Chairman Foos'
If you
question.
can't make it out, I understand.
It looks like it starts with a W. I really can't. Paul, maybe, or
All right.
the last name. I can't.
Do
I can see
do
the
we-
secretary's name, Owen O'Hara. It
Owen
looks like.
O'Hara was the secretary.
Sorry.
It says Owen O'Hara was the secretary, but Howie Wardney?
no clue.
Okay.
It looks like Howie is the first name.
Mike, what was the date it was recorded?
Okay. The date of recordation. Looking for it.
7/6/95. That's the one it was filed with the county planning.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
This is a minute question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, at the time in 1981, 85, whatever date that was,
Mhm.
this family was living in the house, right?
Correct.
And then they were operating their contracting business from home. So it's like a home operated business.
Mhm.
Now, at present, they don't live in the house.
Correct.
The whole house is being used as a business operation.
No.
Or is there someone living there?
Yes, absolutely. So the property is still utilized for two uses. So there's a single family dwelling on the property that's 2 stories, and it's being used in that manner. And as I was going to get to, we're seeking a variance for two principal structures and 2 principal uses. But the commercial structure is still being used as a commercial structure. So the property is still being used where there's a family that resides in the single family dwelling, and the applicant is still operating his company out of the commercial structure.
So in the big building, which is a major part of the property, some people live, the family lives, they live, or who lives?
So they're detached structures, but in the single family dwelling, I believe it's being rented at this time, and in the commercial structure, which is totally detached, there's quite a distance between the 2 structures. Mr. Wojciechowicz is still operating his construction company out of that commercial structure. So I think that
One other question, is Mr. Wojciechowicz prepared to testify? I mean,
Yes,
he was
he's
in
here
front of
this
the
evening.
planning board, well, let me finish, but in the 90s, when he came in front of the planning board, was he present?
yes,
So he'll testify the fact that he was there?
yes,
Okay.
correct.
Do you know what the differences are between what was filed in '95 and what exists today?
So that's why I provided the historic aerials. So
Just a description of them.
yeah, so in my opinion, and I'll have Mr. Wojciechowicz testify to this, the aerials look almost identical. The only difference is that there's been increased screening to
Nothing substantive.
no, there hasn't been increased in lot coverage, if that's what you're asking. No.
Yeah.
No.
Structures.
Michael, I have a question here.
Mhm.
I believe earlier you used the word home-based business.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at the original document from July.
Mhm.
We postponed that, and I'm looking at all these pictures.
Yes.
There's multiple trucks, there's sheds, there's a bunch of material thrown behind the sheds, there's office with space, there's storage in one of these here. I don't really consider that a home-based business. A home-based business to me is you have an office, you do a few things,
Mhm.
and I have one, but our stuff is stored outside in commercial property.
Mhm.
So I don't know how you use the word home in your description and look at these 6 or 7 pictures and tell me that's a home-based business.
I think that's why we're here. I think that I couldn't make an argument, as you're keenly pointing out.
I need an explanation because.
The reason why I referred to it that way is because the zoning officer's citation referenced that it was too large or there was too much intensity for it to be considered a home occupation. So we're here seeking a use
And
variance.
based on you using the word home-based and looking at these pictures, then I would tend to almost agree with
I
our
certainly,
zoning officer.
I certainly agree. That's why
So
we're
I
here.
need, when the owner of this business gets up, to describe what's different from the 1990s compared to today, looking at these pictures.
And he absolutely will. He will. So I'm just going to just go over the relief that we're seeking so everyone's clear. So,
Mr. Silver, before we get to that.
Yes.
Question. So in the packet here, the one drawing that you're referencing the signature for the chairman and the secretary, that is a subdivision. So,
correct.
In the exhibit provided to this board, are there any documents that show sort of the secondary principal use or structure on the property?
Unfortunately, the township doesn't seem to have a record of the resolution that memorialized this. So I can't flip through the resolution and say to the board, this is what the board was aware of, this is what they approved. I don't have that document. All that I have to provide to the board this evening is a filed subdivision plat that shows that the applicant did receive subdivision approval, that the subdivision plat was signed by the planning board chairman here, as well as at the county. And I'm relying upon Mr. Wojciechowicz to testify to the board the conditions of the property at that time in the absence of a resolution as to what existed on the property.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question to our planner?
Of course.
To file a subdivision plan for approval, would the town engineer and town planner have to visit the lot to grant approval for such a subdivision?
They wouldn't have to. They might rely upon the subdivision plans and what's represented at a board hearing. They're not required to go visit the site. It's good to go see the site, but they wouldn't be required to.
Thank you.
For the sake of clarity, the subdivision that you're referencing is shown in some of the exhibits as a cul-de-sac with several homes built around it. Was that all part of the original property that housed the business at that time?
Yes.
And then it was subdivided to allow for the building of those homes?
Yes.
So before that subdivision was approved, this was a lot of space to operate both your home and your business separately, so to speak, without violating a lot of the coverage things that we're going to be talking about.
Correct. It was nearly 4 acres.
Right. And that subdivision was approved by Bridgewater Township Planning Board?
Correct.
And was recorded with the county. They didn't have to approve anything, but and recorded with the county. So you have records that say that, but the records that you're looking for the approval from the township, we don't have.
Correct, and the county would approve. The county, it's irrelevant, but the county has to sign off and approve a major subdivision, so they would have been involved. But your representation is accurate. I don't have a resolution to provide to the board.
Thank you.
This happens a lot. Right?
I think that it depends what year you're looking for a resolution. So I think I don't want to speak on behalf of the township, but in my experience in dealing with the township, usually from the late 90s on, I have no problem getting records.
Right.
I don't know if it's a matter that some of the records are kept off-site. I don't have an explanation, but
I can tell you Nancy's never lost a record.
and I certainly would agree with that. And I think the Oprah request probably would have went to Miss Probst, and I think you looked whoever it went to, because it would have been filed a long time ago, but whoever looked for it, I can't recall, sent me multiple email updates, and we did receive, like I said, the CO.
Yeah.
I want to move on to my witness because I think it's very important for the board. I just wanted to summarize just quickly the relief that we're seeking and touch on the professional review memos. So we're seeking a variance under section 126-306 to permit the continued operation of the commercial business within the R40 zone. The R40 zone does not permit the proposed use. We're also seeking a variance under section 126-330 to allow 2 principal structures and uses on a single lot. The township allows that in commercial zones. It does not allow that in residential zones. And then, out of an abundance of caution, even though I feel very confident that I can certainly demonstrate that the C bulk variance would have been granted with the overage on lot coverage, I am still seeking a variance for the approximately 32% of lot coverage on the property, which is over, I believe, the permitted amount is, I'll double check, I think it was 18%. Yeah, so, okay, just wanted to say to the board that I think that there are, if the board has concerns, there are certainly conditions that can be imposed. I know that boards, certainly this board, rightfully so, always has expressed concerns that when we grant variance relief as a board, we're not granting it to the individual. The variance relief runs with the property, and how can we make sure that if Mr. Wittikovich isn't operating his company out of the property, someone in the future isn't going to take advantage or harm the surrounding community because of the relief that we're seeking tonight. And I think that there are a number of ways that the board can mitigate those concerns by imposing, which we would welcome with open arms really, limiting the operating hours, restricting the number of on-site employees, requiring that work doesn't occur on site, construction work that occurs at the client's location, prohibiting new signage or lighting, and really just putting a condition on the approval that we're seeking that the use on the property, the commercial use, may not be expanded or intensified in any way that would adversely affect the surrounding zone or neighborhood, and allowing your zoning officer to make a determination down the road whether the way the property is being used in 20, 30 years from now constitutes some sort of negative impact to the neighborhood outside of the parameters of what exists on the property today. Just very quickly, I just wanted to touch the two review memos that we received from the sewer utility. It's dated August 5th, 2025 from Mr. Genova. To the extent possible, we can comply with the memo. I didn't understand the memo in the sense that we're currently paying a sewer bill for 2 units and have been for decades. So whatever Mr. Genova wants us to do, we can do. I just didn't understand exactly what.
It sounded like he wanted you to revise some drawings.
Correct. I meant more with the sewer application. Well, we can work with him. The main concern that I had was the fire review memo issued by Mr. Scalera, dated August 21st, 2025. So after the issuance of the memo, having appeared before this board a number of times, I know from experience that if there are outstanding items in the fire review memo, this board wants it rectified and clarified. And Mr. Wittikovich and myself met with Mr. Scalera sometime in late September. And we went through the report. There were a number of items that were just impossible to comply with. Mr. Scalera then went on vacation the next day, and he asked me, and I'm willing to submit an affidavit to this effect if the board wants it, but he asked me to represent the resolutions that we came up with if the board would allow me to do so. He said he would issue a revised report when, if this is approved, and we would comply with that revised report. If the board wants me to, I can go through the things that were changed, that he agreed to, that he would have changed on his revised report, or otherwise I can just stipulate that the applicant would agree, should this get approved, to comply with Mr. Scalera's revised fire review memo.
Yeah, in essence, let's save the time.
Okay.
But everything tonight is predicated on him approving and being okay, and then writing a memo to that effect.
Correct.
Okay. Just so we're clear, whatever happens tonight, he has to approve it, and he has to issue a letter.
Understood.
Okay.
All right, so with that, I will conclude my introduction, and we'll start the show off with Mr. Wittikovich.
Can I just ask a question?
Please.
Is it the expectation that your client will not increase any intensity in business activity more than is currently today?
That's correct.
Thank you.
You might also want to address the fact that this parcel will stay as it is. It's not to be subdivided in the future, or no application will be made to subdivide it and create 2 separate uses.
Absolutely. If that's the board's preference. I mean, if it's an R40 zone, so the property isn't large enough to be subdivided unless the applicant came back before this board, and I don't think there's enough lot area for that.
And I'm not sure if I have this as a mixed-use property or a commercial property, so to speak, then suppose I buy it and I want to tear the house down and expand the commercial use. And that's why you're saying earlier that the business operations would remain the same should the board choose to do that.
Right, that's correct.
Do you have any metrics to gauge the current intensity of business activity?
I have my witness that's going to testify under oath to the intensity of the operations, and if there's members of the public, whether they're for the application or not, they will either support or counter what my witness is going to say.
The metrics be based on revenue?
No.
Touch that.
I mean, I don't believe so.
I'm hoping here trucks and intensity.
I
usage
would
and
imagine that's what the
roads.
board is
I
interested
do not
in.
want to talk about revenue or customers or anything like that.
The only thing that my client will testify to is that there are no customers coming to the site.
What about employees?
That's something that-
Family related, we can talk about that.
Yes,
right?
I would.
All right.
If it's okay, I would like to start with you.
Well, why don't we just
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
bring them up? All
Yeah.
right, let's swear everybody in who's going to testify.
Mm-hmm. Please.
Yep.
I do have my my client's professional engineer here, Mr. Dave Stiers, who can also address any of the site layout concerns and ways we can improve it. And while I've made a heartfelt pitch about the long-term use of the property, I do recognize that we are going to have to provide variance justifications and proofs. And my client, on my advice, did retain a professional planner, and he's prepared to provide that testimony this evening as well.
Okay. And Catherine, as well, raise your hands, please. You solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and my left to right, names for the record, please.
Stanley Butch Wadikovich.
Dave Stiers, consulting engineer.
Matt Flynn, professional planner.
Catherine Sarmat, board planner.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Why don't you have a seat here? All right, so Mr. Wadikovich, why don't you start off by telling the board a little bit about yourself, how long you've lived in Bridgewater.
Okay. I'm a lifelong resident of Bridgewater, and you don't know my age, I'm 69, so I've been here for 69 years. Grew up, went through the entire Bridgewater school system. Started at a college, I started a small business at my parents' house, and it just continued to grow.
And can you talk about that business? Talk a little bit about the nature of it, Wadikovich Construction, how it was in the, where did it start in Bridgewater? How did you end up at the property? What's the operation like on the property? We'll get there, but talk about what are you doing?
What am I doing currently?
Well, you can start off about. Well, I think the board wants to know how you ended up here, and
Okay, so I started a small business with a station wagon and a few hand tools, and had my best friend from high school, and the two of us joined together, and my sister-in-law, who's in the stands here, has been with me for 45 years as the office manager, and that's how it started. And then we continued to grow, and basically I just think through just being honest and fair and do what you say you're going to do, the business grew. And then I started to develop a relationship with the township engineers and construction officials that I was fair and honest, and they recommended me, and the business grew. So.
And did you? So you didn't start at this location. Where were you before this location?
I started at my mom's house.
And then in
Bridgewater.
And then in 1981, I represented the board that you moved to this property.
Yes, I bought that property, and I submitted an permit to put up the building and build the business.
Okay.
So that was sort of the intent in 1983.
All right. And I'll ask you operational questions shortly, but Can you talk about the neighborhood when you came to the property in 81 and how it's changed over time?
So it was more of a rural neighborhood. It was probably a couple hundred acres surrounding me at the time. How has it changed? My backyard butts up to a area of worship where there's a soccer field and a kind of racket court behind me, and within about 300 feet from me there's 100+ apartments. So it's no longer that little residential area it used to be.
And when you, I represented that you obtained a certificate of occupancy in 1984. When you obtained that CO, can you talk about to the board what you thought you were getting permission to do? What did you think you were permitted to use the property for?
Well, I felt that was, sort of, I would, assuming everybody knew that was my intent. I was going to operate my business out of there because they knew who I was, and we just moved along.
Mm-hmm. So you feel that the officer that issued the CO knew exactly what you were doing on the property?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And over the years, did the township ever raise concerns about the operations of your business at this location?
No.
And is it fair to say that there were township officials that were at your property over the years?
Yes.
Okay. And
inspectors and re-roof the house, those types of things, yep.
Can you just talk a little bit about your relationship with the township over those years? Because I had represented you did work for the township.
Yeah, so, I guess they, they sort of sought me out because I never spent 10 cents my entire life in advertising, so they realized that I was doing good work and I was being fair and honest. So over the years, I've done work for the mayor, the fire chief, the township attorney, the current township attorney. I mean, I'm still doing it. So they honestly must think I still have it in me.
Okay. I represented that prior to the property maintenance complaint that you received from your neighbor in 2019, there were no other complaints, right? No other issues with neighbors?
I resolved all his issues. He was concerned about his kids. He had small children that they would be wandering around, and I resolved all of that. I put up a fence. I put up a bunch of evergreen trees, and that was 6 years ago. Haven't heard from him since.
Good. Okay. We touched upon this, but can you talk about the current lot overage and how it came to be approximately 32%? I represented to the board that the lot coverage of 32% is consistent now with what it was back when you received subdivision approval.
That is correct. So I guess prior to the subdivision, the lot coverage was legal, or.
But you haven't made changes to the lot coverage since you received subdivision approval. Do you remember approximately what year you got approval from the planning board?
Yeah, 94 or 90. You mean for the?
But when you appeared before the Bridgewater Township Planning Board, assuming that you did, let me start there. Did you personally?
Yes, I
appear
was
before the
there.
board?
Yes.
Did you testify that evening, or you don't remember?
I don't think I did. No,
Okay.
I don't remember. Let's go with that.
Okay, but it's your testimony to the board this evening that the planning board at that time was, number one, aware of what you were using the property for, and number two, aware of the lot coverage at that time.
Absolutely.
And is it fair to say, in your opinion, that the board would be aware that there would be an overage on lot coverage if the subdivision were approved?
I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know if
Well,
they'd be aware or not.
Well, the board approved the subdivision, so were
Right,
they aware
so-
they were creating a deviation?
Yeah, so I assume so.
But you don't recall if they explicitly granted relief?
No.
Okay. have there been, since the subdivision approval, have there been any additions or modifications to the commercial structure? Any changes to the property outside of the enhanced screening that you just spoke about?
Yeah, there might be. I think we added a 8x10 shed or something that we had done an addition on a home and they were throwing it out and we moved it to the property.
And if not, we could certainly get a permit for it, but is that something that you think you got a permit for?
No, I absolutely did not.
Okay.
No, we just, the shed was getting thrown out, so we just put it in the yard.
Okay.
Can I jump in there a second? I want to just jump in on the permit thing, because he said something, I just think it's relevant to ask this question now. You mentioned that you got roof work done. What other permits have you pulled for this property? Any repairs that there's permits? And what I want to know is, who from the town was there? Was somebody there? The fence, you mentioned a fence. Did you pull a permit for that? How many times has the town been there in an official capacity? Or when have you pulled permits?
Well, I think since 2016 or 17, you don't need permits for roofing anymore. But prior to that, I did pull a permit for the roof for the house. I couldn't tell you the year. I mean, these are going, we're 20 years back.
Yeah,
on a lot
like
of
I said, I'm
things.
just trying to figure out how many times the town has been there in an official capacity.
I mean, so the town was there for the plumbing inspection of the building, the electrical inspection of the building, the sewer connection. I mean, this is all back in 1980.
Is this back in the 80s or 90s?
80s, 1980.
83 or 84?
83 or 84.
Okay. And did we try to find any of those records?
Yes.
You have all that?
I have a permit list, but not with me. I don't recall. I don't recall what permits were granted, but that was something that the building department could provide to me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the operations on the property. So can you describe a typical workday at the property?
Okay, so currently we have 5 employees. The actual workers or the staff show up at 7 in the morning. Myself and my nephew who's sitting there, he's my project manager. We get the guys organized. We have 3 guys who actually leave every day in vans. He gives them their work order. He tells them where they're going. He sets them up. They leave for the day. They do their job. Any construction materials or anything would be delivered to that site. 4 o'clock, approximately 4 o'clock, 4:30, they come back. They review their day. They will go over with him what they've completed, what needs to get done for tomorrow, what we need to get together. He's usually out till 7 at night picking things up for them, and the next morning they show up and then they leave in their personal vehicles.
So total, how many people work for you, Mr.? Total?
5, including myself,
Including yourself, okay.
my sister-in-law, my nephew, and 3 other employees.
Well, the construction work is done by the 5 people who work, including you. They all do construction work?
Yeah, construction, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, the environment's changing. Most of the work gets subbed out now, and the subcontractors go directly to the site, so there's not a lot of...
You are a general contractor, right? You do general contract?
I do,
general
yes.
So, do you hire any other people to do work for you?
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
do. Okay.
Just on the employees, just real quick, the people that work out of the building are all related to you?
No.
In some form or fashion? Not the ones that drop their car off there and then go out all day?
Yes.
They're in the building,
Yes.
9 to 5?
Yes, my
That
nephew...
work on the property?
Yes,
That's
nephew
direct
and my
related,
sister-in-law.
right?
That is correct.
All right, so non-related, they're just dropping their car there, getting their stuff and leaving?
Yeah, and their instructions
Yeah,
for the
of
day.
course, right.
Yeah.
They're not there all the day. They're
No,
out.
no.
Right.
Nope.
Okay.
And I represented to the board that you don't have customers or clients visiting the site. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. And there isn't construction on the property. It's all at the...
Yes.
Okay, it's at the site. So you're not building something on the property. You have a workshop would you agree it's not dissimilar to a workshop that someone could have at a single-family home?
Yeah, no, we don't have much there at all, as far as a workshop goes.
Right.
No.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about the types of vehicles on your property, because I think that's probably be a major concern of the board. So the pictures show vans. Is that
Yes,
accurate?
that is correct.
So you, aside from vans and pickup trucks, do you have tractor trailers or single unit trucks outside of the UPS or FedEx delivery going to your property?
No.
And you don't need that, right?
No.
You would be okay if the board determined to condition the approval that you can't have tractor trailers, you can't have box trucks as part of your business operation?
We don't need
Okay. Deliveries.
Can I ask,
Yes.
how many vehicles total are there?
There is 4 vans and 2 pickup trucks.
And then, of course, the personal vehicles of your employees.
Yes, right. Well, they come and go.
Right. In terms of deliveries, what type of deliveries do you receive? Frequency of deliveries, types of materials? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't get anything more than maybe, UPS or FedEx or, basic Amazon if we're getting office supplies or all the construction materials go to the site.
And what types of materials or equipment are stored on your property, particularly outside?
Mainly ladders, garbage cans, safety barrels, cones, safety cones, that kind of thing.
And the pictures I took and the pictures that are in the application, did you look at those pictures? Are you familiar with them? And if not, we can look at them.
Yes.
Yes. So were they an accurate representation
Yes.
of your property?
Yes.
And when I came to take pictures, can you represent to the board whether or not, did we stage anything, or did I just show up and take pictures?
You just showed up and took pictures.
So you have an authentic, if I wanted to stage something, I would have, this is what it really looks like, so.
They're willing to come.
Right. Can you talk about the how you manage traffic, noise? Are there noise concerns? In your opinion, are there traffic concerns?
No, there's no noise concern. There's nobody there. There's, I have, my sister-in-law works part-time from 9 to 1 o'clock, 3 days a week.
Okay.
So there's no noise.
And how about, do you have any traffic concerns?
No, we just drive out and drive back.
Okay. And I think you've already touched upon that you haven't, at least firsthand, experienced any negative interactions with neighbors concerning the use.
No.
Okay. Now, you touched upon this as well, but talk a little bit about how your property is screened. You mentioned you planted evergreen trees.
Yeah.
So,
along the property line.
in your opinion, can a member of the public really even tell that there is a commercial operation on the property?
Unless you're looking for it.
So there's a lot of screening. There's a lot of buffering.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to just switch to the lot coverage for a moment when I've asked you questions about it. But what's your opinion on the current drainage conditions on the property?
There are none. I mean, I've been there for 40.
No problems, you're saying?
No problems. 44 years I've been on that property.
And I'll ask your engineer how stormwater runoff is managed, but you've never had a neighbor, for example, come to you and say, "Hey, you're impacting my property. You need to do X, Y, Z," right?
No.
Okay. And to your knowledge, do the adjacent properties do they experience any negative impacts from the runoff?
No.
And the adjacent properties, one of the lots was formerly your property too.
Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't observed, just to conclude this, you haven't observed any flooding, erosion, or water damage on your property, right?
Not in 44 years.
Okay. Let's see. So, in your opinion, and I'm sure the board will have additional questions, but do you think that the business is operated harmoniously within the neighborhood?
Yes.
So, you don't think that there's been any substantial impact to the neighborhood at all?
No.
Okay. And how would it affect you in your family if for some reason the board didn't approve this application and didn't approve the requested relief?
I mean, Bridgewater's been my whole life. I mean, I grew up here, I started a business here, it's been my whole life. I would love to continue to work and live in Bridgewater for many years. I mean,
and I think
this has been everything to me, Bridgewater. So I've been involved in all kinds of things and volunteered, and so I'd like to stay. I mean,
well said.
That's.
I would like to ask you, what are your future plans for the property if this gets approved? And I had mentioned earlier that variance relief runs with the land. So you could be an upstanding citizen, you could have managed your property in the correct manner. And how do you think the board can feel confidence that if they were to grant relief this evening, that 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, that the property will be maintained and operated in the same fashion that you've operated it for all these years?
Well, if they grant me approval, I have no intentions of changing anything that, of the way it's been operating and has operated. Pretty quiet. So, and I guess to conclude with that, you know, my nephew's been with me for 20 years and maybe longer, and over time, I'm just hoping to transition the business to him, that he'll operate out of the same location. After he's done, I really can't answer that question. You know, after 30 more years from now, I don't know what it will be, but I can grant it that I want to keep it going.
Do you do home remodeling or commercial jobs? Or
Both. Just remodeling. No, we don't build anything new.
Okay.
We're strictly a remodeling contractor. And for years, we used to do service work. That's how we got involved with Bridgewater Township. We were their preferred vendor to do all their service when we would fix, you know, door closers and doors that fell off of hinges and things like that. So we did that for about 10 years.
Thank you.
And while I've represented that I haven't perceived any negative impacts to your operation, if the board were inclined to condition approval, are you open to working with the board and essentially restricting your property in perpetuity to ensure that the board's confident that when there's a change of hands 15, 20 years down the road, that the next property owner will utilize the property in a proper, safe, and caring fashion like yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, that would mean that they have to continue the exact same way. Yeah, I could.
And those conditions would run with the property?
Yes.
Yeah. Just so you understand that, you know, no matter what happens, who it's sold to, the next owner, they're bound by the same condition.
Yeah. I'm really concerned about myself, not the next owner, honestly.
Understood.
I just want my nephew to be able to continue to run the business.
But ironically, the board is concerned about the next owner. I'm not concerned about you at all.
I totally understand. But I have no intentions of trying to change it to make it any better.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
Thanks.
Can I just ask, this is the only location you have for this business?
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, board questions?
I have a,
Please, Mrs. Smith.
you know, in our package, we have something that came from the zoning office, zoning violation, and it's sent to 1778 Mountain Top Road. Is that where you live? Or
In Bridgewater, yes.
That's where you live right now?
That's correct.
And 756, the house, you know, all these nice pictures that I see in the back. You have your drafting room and this.
Yes.
Yeah, so these are in the main house?
That's the business. That's the building
Right, I only took pictures
So,
of the commercial
I do
structure.
have another question for you. See, you said that you have 5 people who work for you, so they're probably on your payroll. Now, the construction workers, you hire them as needed, or what does it have? Do they ever
No.
come to your place to pick up any products or any tools or anything?
No, the 3 employees that actually leave every day are full-time employees, and they have been with me for, I think, 12 to 15 years is probably the shortest, and 35 years is probably the longest out of the 3. And if we hire, subcontractors, they go to the job site, they don't come to the office.
Okay. So all these vans that you have, how many vans do you have?
5.
5. So they are all 5 for you people to use?
Yes, yes.
Not for the contractors? or-
No,
Okay,
no, they're personally owned by the
So
company.
that's good. That, we want to make sure that there's not too much traffic coming and going
Yeah,
in
no.
and out.
Nope.
I have a question. So the certificate of occupancy, is it this document?
Yeah.
Here is the packet? One question I have, so the description of work and specific use is construction of detached garage. And the specific use here is detached garage. So that was kind of what was permitted. Looking at the photographs here, and certainly your first floor looks like you have a work, it's a garage with a workshop. My basement almost looks similar, but less so. But I mean, the second floor, it looks like you have 3 large offices, a plotter, a coffee machine. You have a conference room. I'm seeing you have restrooms up there as well.
Just a single bathroom, yeah.
And your profession is your adult.
Yes.
Right, for many 40 years. So, just by looking at this, so there's not many exhibits here kind of to support your claim, which, I don't doubt your claim, just looking for the evidence here. How would you kind of go from a CO for a garage to then say that kind of is a CO for a commercial building?
Well, so that you have in your hand was the only piece of paper I could find digging. I went to all the Oprah to try to dig up all the permits, as you did as well. And once the garage was built, I then applied for the plumbing, the electrical, all the other things that get to what you see. I cannot find any of those documents, I'm sorry. They're 40 plus years old.
Do you have any plans, have you saved any plans from this facility?
From 44 years ago, no, I don't, unfortunately. I mean, I found that in an old folder from another job on a whim, like.
So, to slightly go back this stage, Mr. Silver at the beginning brought up the kind of how we got here, and I want to be sure I'm following, is that you've been at this property for longer than I've been alive. Then, with the exception of one conversation with a neighbor that resulted in trees coming up, there were no complaints from anybody until somebody said, how come he can have this long a driveway and I can't?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Well said.
Okay.
It's worth repeating that the township was unable to produce any of the records that you had requested, other than those which you cited earlier. And so, certainly the property owner doesn't have them either, but we couldn't produce them.
Or violations, for that matter.
Is that correct, Mr. Silver?
Can you repeat that? I'm so sorry.
All I'm saying is that we were unable to produce the records that you requested, which would have shown some type of approval, either from the planning board or some other official within the township, other than that which the owner has already talked about that he found in his file, just kind of by accident.
Right. The only thing that I received from the township was a permit list, which was actually included here, which shows permits were pulled. One permit I see from 2011. And then I don't even remember if the Oprah request came back with the CO or if Mr. Wojciechowicz gave it to me. I don't recall. But there were no, certainly an Oprah request would have yielded if there were other complaints from neighbors, zoning violations, property maintenance issues. That didn't come back either.
Right.
Right.
Fair enough, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. So, in the limited amount of detective work that could be done in looking this up, I was able to find a document from 1989, which was the site easement for the extension of the cul-de-sac. It appears that the subdivision was probably approved by the planning board closer to 1989, and you can see a signature by the engineer that's from 1989. It may not have been perfected until 95 when it was filed with the county, but the documentation for the road dedication easement, the road dedication and then the site easement from 89 seem to show that that's when the cul-de-sac was added for the subdivision, and those things were done to dedicate the roadway and to create the site easement. What's interesting is the road dedication doesn't include a survey, but the site easement does, and it does show the improvements, unlike the subdivision plan, that were existing in 89. It shows a home, it shows a stone driveway, pretty similar to what exists today, and it shows a stone driveway to the back to what shows as an existing frame barn. Approximately the same size, but it was not noted as a shed, it was not noted as a garage, it was noted as a barn. And a driveway, a macadam driveway that goes beyond that, pretty much to where it exists on their variance plan. What didn't exist is that pretty significant expansion of the gravel driveway behind the barn in 89 when the board did review this, did approve it for the subdivision, likely incorporated the existing site conditions in their decision. So there are some changes, including that gravel area that is expanded, that impervious area in the back probably by 3 or 4 times, as well as the two sheds. There's a shed to the west of the that gravel area, or sorry, the macadam driveway, and then just above that behind the building. So, and my only concern with those 2 sheds is that they are in the sewer easement. One of them at least is poking into the sewer easement. But so it does give some better indication of what the site history was, how the board saw it when they did the subdivision approval, what they knew existed, and probably what's changed since then without additional approvals. Probably the 2 sheds and the gravel area.
He testified to the 1 shed.
He knew the 1 shed, but this neither shed in the back and not the shed in the front next to the house was added, and that's fairly typical when people can add sheds. So, but I just wanted to kind of make the board aware of that as we're kind of contemplating what the township was aware of, what we know was done legally, and then what has been expanded. And that plan also shows that the area behind the driveway was pretty much wooded. So obviously to make the gravel area, they'd have to remove the trees that were there. But
and the silence would have been acceptance from the township's perspective.
The township might not have known. No, so the township didn't know about the gravel driveway that was added.
But they knew about the barn.
They knew about the frame barn. They had a driveway to the back. They knew all of that in 1989.
Right.
And then when it was obviously perfected in 95, it was probably operating. The only thing they didn't know about probably was the expansion of the driveway in the back, which does have an impact on the impervious coverage in some sense. But as far as the structures that existed, yeah, they were probably aware of it.
Thank you. All right, any members of the public? Questions? All right, seeing none. Your next witness.
Call my next witness momentarily. I did have a printing issue, and I actually can't see the 1987 historic aerial, but if the board members have it in their application packet, I would ask them to compare the 87 aerial to the 2002 aerial. And again, that doesn't necessarily come up with the exact date when something was improved on the property. Thanks.
Do you need it?
I'm going to reference my computer screen, which is included in the packet as to the 87 aerial. So the parking area behind the garage, I don't know if you can tell if you have your glasses, but so what I think Mrs. Armad was referring to is the area where the gravel is. Was that changed from 87 on?
I mean, that whole area back there was parking. I mean, we had it there. I can't tell you if we added 8 feet or 5 feet or something.
Well,
But, I mean, I didn't cut any trees down, I can tell you that, so.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. All right.
He told you to say that. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
All right. I'm going to call our next witness, which is Mr. Dave Stiers. He's going to talk about the site layout a little bit, talk about drainage. You can exit.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Stiers, you've appeared before this board on many occasions and have been accepted as an expert in the field of engineering.
Licensed in good standing?
Still is,
All
yes.
right, we accept you as an expert. Good to see
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dave, please tell the board about the existing layout and talk about stormwater management runoff.
Yeah,
Okay.
but first I think we should mark that. Let's mark it A1 and then just for the record describe what A1 is.
A1 variance plan in the packet. It is colored but unchanged other than that.
Okay.
Okay, just to orient the board, to the east of the existing site is 202-206 North. Harding comes in as a cul-de-sac off of 202-206. To the west is Route 287. And like Butch said, the House of Worship, the Alpha Law facility is, to the south. So we're on the cul-de-sac of Harding. On the north side of this property, which is the frontage, we have a driveway that comes in. As you proceed in, to the west is the existing Cape Cod house, approximately 3,000 square feet. The driveway splits and runs down to the rear and to the commercial building in the back. The darker gray is actual pavement, and then the lighter gray is the stone yard in the back or the south and in front of the house. I don't have a lot to talk about since this is existing conditions. There was one thing that was brought up in the reports about drainage. The drainage on the north side of the existing house drains out to Harding. If you take the house and kind of split the property down the middle behind the house, water sheds to the west and the east, kind of in equal increments, and then a small portion of that storage area drains towards the Alpha facility. There is a creek in the back. I believe it runs towards Route 287 and under 287. So it's a sheet flow. There's no stormwater improvements on the property. And as Butch had indicated, there's no apparent flooding or any issues like that. Dark green are the trees, which are substantial. There is a solid wood fence around the rear of the property, which buffers the neighbors. And one comment from sewer utility was about sewer hookups. Both the house and the commercial property have hookups. There's an easement that runs from the cul-de-sac in Harding through the property, so the actual sewer laterals are on the subject property and do not encroach onto the neighbor or the actual right-of-way.
Mr. Stiers, have you actually visited the property before?
Yes, I have.
In your professional opinion, did you have any concerns about runoff or potential impacts to the surrounding neighbors due to the lot overage on Mr. Witikovich's property?
I did not, and you know, based on the sheet flow and also the fact that this has been there substantially for a long period of time, so there would be no so-called increase to our neighbors. It's existed for some time.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, board questions for Mr. Stiers?
Dave, when I looked at the property, I noticed there is a fence apparently behind bushes and trees on 202-206 side of the property. On the other side of the property, is there a fence over there also?
Yes.
I saw one, if you go all the way to the cul-de-sac and look back at the property, you can see it on the neighbor's property.
This bit runs up to, you have one here.
Yes. I saw a solid wooden fence on that side.
That's what I saw.
It's in the pictures too.
I believe the
It runs along the, between the.
I believe the owner of that lot is here this
evening. On the west side of the storage area. And then it returns back to the building. So this area is enclosed.
So we have fence on both sides?
Yes.
And what I was saying is that I believe the owner of lot 7.02 is here this evening as well. I'm sorry, 7.01.
That's the residence to the west?
Yes.
Let's go with Mr. Stiers. Any other board questions? Catherine, any questions?
No, I think, just to clarify, that gravel area that goes back, it probably goes back like 70 feet, looking at Dave's plan, where the rearmost shed is, that's where the macadam stops. And you can kind of see that in some of the photos they took. So I don't know, from the intensity that's described about the number of cars and stuff, I don't know if there's an ability maybe to remove some of the gravel and reclaim it as grass. It would help with the impervious a little bit. It would help contain kind of what's creeped back further and further.
Maybe plant a tree?
Plant a few trees, even though the neighboring property has its own intensity. I think that it will help stop the creep of any gravel continuing forward if there's any other future property owners. It tends to happen when a property is this long.
Would you be willing to kind of leave that open and work with Mr. Silbert and the applicant to go and tidy that up and reclaim some of that impervious?
Absolutely, we're happy to do that. The only, I don't mean to call it an issue, but it's just, I guess, the technical relief that's being granted, the extent of it, if we're going to increase or decrease the impervious coverage.
Right.
I don't know off the top of my head what amount that is, but maybe we can figure that out.
Right now, we won't exceed the 32.18%.
Why don't we say up to the 32.8 with the provision that their engineer will work to decrease it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Certainly.
So it'll max where it is now.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Any members of the public questions on Mr. Stiers' testimony? All right, seeing none. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
And our final witness is Mr. Matt Flynn. Who, Mr. Flynn, is your license in good standing?
Yes.
And you've appeared before this board and been accepted by this board as an expert in the field of planning?
I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Flynn. We accept
Thank
you
you.
as an expert in planning.
Thanks. I have an exhibit that I'd like to pass out. I think we're on A2. Just to kick things off here.
A2, so just describe what A2 is.
Yeah, Exhibit A2 is some drone photographs taken by my office as well as a simple aerial map.
What date is it?
These were taken August 21st of this year, 2025.
And how many pages?
4.
Here, I'll help you.
If you need this one, I'll give it back to you. But.
with attachment.
Thank you.
Did we run out?
I can do it.
Wait, sorry, these aren't stapled together? Is that what we're doing?
Did you say they're not stapled together?
I think you got the one that's not here.
Oh, the staple came out? I'm sorry.
There you go.
A2 coming in.
Yeah, those are all one set. We're good.
You got the staple with
It was just one set that was.
Oh.
You
No,
had to
I
get
think
landed
these are
there.
guys keep it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can do it.
Well, sorry for causing a little commotion there, but basically what we're looking at here is if I could just direct the board's attention on sheet 1 here. We've heard testimony from our applicant as well as our engineer regarding the substantial buffering on the property. Sheet 1 here gives a clear display of what we're talking about in terms of buffering. Not only is that area in the back substantially buffered, but even that dwelling in the front is substantially buffered. So, you know, it's hard to even see the dwelling, let alone what's going on about 150 feet beyond that. So when we're talking about impacts from the streetscape, of course, that is certainly not an issue in my opinion. The other thing that we see on sheet 1 here is that these 2 homes that also have access from the cul-de-sac, just as a point of reference, those 2 homes actually came online after this property existed in its current form. So this neighborhood sort of grew up around what we're talking about this evening. Flipping over to sheet 2, just sort of lowering that drone down to give a better view of sort of what we see if we were on the street level there. Again, hard to see the dwelling itself and even harder to see what's going on beyond that there. So sheet 3 was pretty much, I was trying to show the board, I think our applicant noted that this area has been subject to change over the years. I think in the last 2 or 3 years we saw those the Woodmont Square apartments that we see on the left side of sheet 3 there. Those were developed around then. It's a 3-building development with about 100 units in them. Just by point of reference, historically in 1987 there was 4 detached dwellings to the left of this home, and now there's 2. So again, when we talk about change in the neighborhood, I think he testified to the fact that this is somewhat less residential or less characterized as detached residential.
Single family, right? Less single family, maybe?
Correct, right. And so those apartment buildings came online, but also what we'll see on sheet 3 is that directly behind our property is actually a house of worship. I believe it's a mosque, and we can't really see it here because of all the trees, but if we shift over to sheet 4 now, and we can see the property lines there. We can see that right behind our property is that house of worship there. We don't actually, our property actually does not abut the house of worship itself or even the parking lot. It actually abuts a undeveloped buffer area on that property as well. So not only is there buffering on our property, but there's also buffering on the adjacent properties, which also shields or mitigates any potential visual detriment there. So as we heard, we're here seeking a D1 use relief, basically 2 D1 use variances, one for the commercial use that's existing on the property, and then 2 for the fact that it actually constitutes 2 principal buildings on the lot. Whereas we're allowed 1, which is typical of a residential zone, you're typically allowed 1 principal building. And of course, in this case, we have 2, one being the residence and the other being the commercial use. So really from the planning standpoint, I looked at, I would say, 4 things. 1 being the context of the property, and I sort of walked the board through that already. I mentioned that the cul-de-sac itself sort of grew up around this use. The property backs up to a mosque, not another residential use, which is important, of course, because the commercial component is in the rear of the property. where it is not relative to a residential property in the back there. Like I mentioned, we are just a few lots away from a large multifamily development, which is the Woodmont Square development, which is also in the same zone, just so the board is aware. The other thing I looked at in addition to the context was essentially the aesthetic, or how this is going to look. Again, I talked about the substantial buffering on the property. It's not really going to be visible from the street. Notably, the commercial facility is, of course, located behind the dwelling, so we are retaining that residential pattern that we want in a residential zone. From the street, we're not eliminating a residential dwelling that comprises a pattern in the streetscape. We are keeping that there and keeping the existing commercial facility in the back behind that. The other thing I looked at was the massing overall. If we look at Mr. Steyer's engineering plan and the application submission, we'll note that the FAR is about half of what's permitted. And that's inclusive of both buildings, so even when we talk about both buildings, the FAR is substantially below what we could get here in this zone. In terms of the property itself, this is an oversized property at approximately 63,000 square feet, whereas 40,000 square feet is the minimum. We have substantial lot depth, which allows us to pull that commercial use further back from the street. And really that substantial or generous proportions here allow us to meet pretty much all of the bulk requirements, except for lot coverage. But if we look at the plans, we'll see that all of our setbacks are compliant. And perhaps the most notable of those would be the rear setback. Again, since we're talking about a commercial use in the back of the site, that commercial use is set back about 150 feet from the rear property line. We only need 75 feet, so it is well separated from our property lines. So I would say that all of that factors into the site suitability standard. Basically, the essence is whether this property is particularly suitable for the use in question. And I think based on those four considerations, the context, the massing, the spatial dimensions, the aesthetics, all of that plays into site suitability. The positive criteria, we look at the municipal land use law, the purposes of zoning, why we have these controls in the first place. Purpose A, promotion of the general welfare. Here again, we're legitimizing a long-standing business in the community. This does give the board the opportunity to impose any reasonable conditions that we might see fit moving forward into the future. I would note that a small contractor business such as this one does play an essential role in maintaining local homes, infrastructure, municipal services, as was testified by our applicant. Purpose G, variety of uses in appropriate locations. I think I can fall back on the site suitability testimony. Purpose I, desirable visual environment. Here I think the key thing is that we are keeping that residential home abutting the street, which is going to preserve the streetscape there. And finally, purpose M, efficient use of land. Again, substantial compliance with the bulk requirements. Again, all setbacks are compliant. FAR is well under. We have the area, the width of the lot. And I'll note that the setbacks are compliant for both of our principal structures. So the residence, as well as the commercial building, all of those setbacks are individually met, as well as building height. So zone conformance, I think, lends itself to the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. We talked about visibility, and when we talk about potential detriments, that's really the key factor here, but I would say perhaps more important than the visibility of it would be the operational testimony that we heard from our applicant, and just to echo what he testified to, there's no customers on the site, no showroom, no signage, no construction will take place on the property, limited employees with limited hours, there's really no noise concerns, again, there's no construction taking place here, and no minimal, if any, traffic concerns. So all of that goes towards the negative criteria. All said, when we look at the use variance that we're seeking here, again, site suitability, positive criteria, and the negative criteria, I think all of that is met. I'll get into briefly the lot coverage variance here. I think we can look to the C2 balancing test to the extent that the board sees that determines that we need that variance. The positive criteria, all of that really carries forth from the use variance. All of the lot coverage variance is necessary to effectuate the use, a long-standing existing condition. So the flip side to that, the negative criteria, again, no substantial detriment. Here, again, we're talking about an existing condition, and it's not going to stand out as overdevelopment by any means, especially when we look at the FAR, the setbacks, etc. The one variance for coverage is not going to stand out as sort of a substantial detriment. So, really, with that, I think there's a practical element to this. We have a responsible applicant here that has existed here without detriment to the community. That one complaint that we received years ago was acted on promptly, and I think this is a small-scale operation that can certainly be granted.
I have just a few questions. So can you just talk briefly about the proximity of the site to 206 and the types of uses one would expect to see there?
Of course, yeah. So 206 is about 3 or 4 lots to the west.
East.
East. Right. Yeah, 206. So if we look at sheet 1, or not sheet 1, but sheet 4, we'll see 206 on the right-hand side of that aerial map, and we can see that 3-building apartment development along 206. We also see the mosque that I mentioned, again, along 206.
Is it fair to say there's a variety of uses, though?
Absolutely.
There's a mixture, a blend of commercial, residential?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. And just a couple more. So did you view this application as unique, in your opinion?
I did.
Okay. And the reason why I asked that question is because, if a member of the public was watching this and says, well, I want to do this with my property, do you think that there are planning justifications to warrant an approval here that might not be transferable to somebody else who just wants to use their property in the exact same manner?
Yeah, and that's basically the reason we have that site suitability standard. Why is this particular site suitable for the proposed development? It applies to this site only, and really the majority of what I said about site suitability would not really be applicable to many other properties in the zone.
Thank you.
That it?
I could keep going.
No, Josh, I don't want to step on your speech.
No, yep, I'm good.
All right,
Thank
I
you.
have a quick question.
Yep.
On 55D, under negative criteria, the MLUL, no substantial impairment, and I agree with you on that, the intent and the purpose of the zone plan, and the zoning ordinance, parentheses, not spot zoning. So help protect Bridgewater Township that we're not spot zoning here.
Right. Again, going back to site suitability, it's pretty much impossible for a zoning ordinance to anticipate every unique condition that exists throughout the township or within this one zone. And I think the zoning mechanism and the purpose of this board in the first place was built around that simple fact that certain situations like these arise.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Other board questions? Catherine, question.
I just have 2 other things to point out that weren't covered. As a result of the use in the rear, there are some design standards that I think they'll probably need waivers from just for they're technical in nature. Under 126-171D, no driveway shall be located in any residential zone to provide access to uses other than those that are permitted in a residential zone. So obviously this is not a permitted use in the residential zone, hence why they're here tonight for D variance relief. So I think a design waiver would need to be sought from that, as well as 126-181D, which is no
I'm sorry,
driveway.
Captain, 126
The first one is 171D, and the second one is 181D.
Thank you.
No problem. Is that no driveway or parking lot in a residential zone can be 10 feet from a side or rear property line. I'm hoping that they can achieve a little bit of distance from the rear property line, not for the sake of because the neighbors have a much more intense use. It's really to prevent the creep of that gravel driveway moving forward. So any kind of green space or trees will help to prevent that from expanding in the future, which I think will help, in my opinion, this board's kind of mission to make sure that any additional property owner, subsequent property owners will not expand this use, because the testimony we've heard tonight about this use has really been that Mr. Witakowicz has done a great job in keeping it a family business and keeping it contained, but this use variance approval hopefully will not do anything different for any subsequent property owner. And then I just wanted to clarify that is it your opinion, Mr. Flynn, that there's going to be no substantial change in traffic patterns or kind of different kinds of trucks or vehicles that shouldn't be on a residential road as a result of this use?
Well, based on our applicant's testimony, there would be no change to the existing operation that's been there for some decades.
And I'll ask Mr. Silbert if they'd be willing to impose a condition or agree to a condition that there would be no, regular truck traffic, commercial trucking vehicles that would enter and exit the site on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
As well as, it didn't appear that there's really an outdoor storage of any loose materials, but if there would be a prohibition or a condition that would prohibit any storage of loose materials outdoors.
Like
Stone,
lumber,
mulch,
yeah.
pallets, things like that.
Yeah, Mr. Burr said the same thing. He actually asked me to make sure that there was cleanup on the property and minimize storage of equipment on the outside.
We're happy to do that.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful to making sure that this remains, a very contained and clean operation for any user. And then finally, just that this is subject to sign off from the fire official and any conditions from the fire official. I think that would.
And they agreed to that already.
And they agreed to that. So I just want to make sure that that's on the record.
Okay.
Other than that, I have no other issues, and I think Mr. Flynn covered all the necessary testimony.
So I just want to go back to the outdoor storage. Are we saying no outdoor storage, or?
I think we need to come to an agreement because we have both the planner and the engineer talking about this. So, we do have substantial comment from board professionals that something needs to be done. So we'll throw it back to you.
Sure. So what I certainly gathered there was that Mr. Byrne and Ms. Armat do not want to see construction materials like mulch, lumber, things of that nature stored outside. We can certainly comply with that. As far as equipment, I need you to tell me what do you need to have outside?
Currently, we have ladders and some, trash cans and safety equipment and barrels and things like that, which are, stacked neatly, and that's about, what we do have outside, and I would like to continue to do that if I could.
And you have a dumpster too, correct?
Yes.
With the exception of the dumpster, the items that were just listed are not, necessary, maybe the scale of it or the intensity, but they're not like super uncharacteristic. Like it's not that you couldn't go to a residential property and see a ladder outside or garbage bins. So.
Wouldn't it be the storage of material not for the use or operation or maintenance of the property or structure? I mean, isn't that really what you're concerned about?
Mine is more that if this is approved for some sort of construction workshop or landscaping, whatever it is, a family business that deals with construction, that you could easily have piles of mulch, piles of stone, pallets stacked 15 feet high.
That aren't for that, for the use.
That are for the use, that they just happen to store them on the property. A use like this could be really valuable to a contractor that may use it as their primary place to store everything, backhoes.
And we've actually denied those cases historically.
Yeah, and it becomes a site maintenance issue. It becomes a safety hazard because it gets in the way of fire trucks and efficient circulation of vehicles. So I don't disagree that right now the pictures show that it is fairly orderly in the way that it's set up. It's off of the paved area for the circulation of vehicles, but obviously if you prohibit it entirely, you can make sure that nothing happens. If you say in an orderly way or you limit to certain things, it becomes an enforcement issue. Right now they do have ladders on the east side of the property along the driveway, and then behind the shed, the two sheds, that what he mentioned, wheelbarrows and traffic cones and things like that. So I think I'll leave it up to the board. I really just don't want to see it multiply into, I said loose materials because it really is like, that would be landscaping materials, that would be construction materials, that would be where
They weren't for that property, I think that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh,
like,
okay.
So if anything.
Well, they've got like
that's
20
out
ladders there. It's not like it's one ladder. I don't think they're
there,
used. So,
Operation,
yeah. Yeah, I think,
ladders you see pretty common.
This is what I would respond with, is that we've given pictures, and what I'm suggesting is that the board condition this approval that it cannot intensify at all. So if the zoning officer perceives that the use on the property has intensified, the zoning officer can issue a violation, and a subsequent owner of the property would be back before you to explain why their outdoor storage facility has increased in intensity. And I'm certain that a neighbor would complain if somebody was using the property inappropriately. So I think that the board has protection if they're imposing that condition. It's very hard to say, like, this material can be here and this quantity. At the end of the day, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it's this. Mr. Wittikovich operates a general contracting company. He's doing it in a modest and low intense level, but there's certainly going to be a certain level of outdoor storage and materials, and I'm suggesting the board monitor it by the photos that you have and that the zoning officer determine if there's an intensification. That's how you monitor the outdoor storage.
Hey, Michael, why don't you say like no bulk storage?
That's fine.
I mean, that clarifies it right there.
is it possible for Mr. Stiers to indicate on the plan, like the variance plan that was submitted, where the storage is happening right now and limit it to those areas?
I think that would be totally
Would
fine,
that be
right?
okay?
That would be
Because
totally
it is modest, and I think that would be would give a zoning officer the ability to enforce it in any future scenario.
Yeah, I always hesitate to get involved in the operational aspects of the business. I don't want to hear about revenues, employees, other than when it feeds into the intensification or the intensity of the use. So if we can limit this space that's being used for storage, and let's delineate it right now, and let's mark it, and it's not going to increase. Just me, I'm one vote, but I would love to hear what the board thinks, and let's make sure that that's the case. And 50 years down the road, if there is a landscaper that acquires this property, they're not storing mulch over the property and organic materials and things like that.
Yeah, I'd like it to be enforceable. That's how I see it. Anybody in the future could look at a plan and say you're out of line with what was approved, or you're in line.
Yeah, we certainly have a designated storage area.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, members of the public, questions on Mr. Flynn's testimony?
Thank you.
Sir.
I don't have any further witnesses. I think that we've discussed this quite a bit, and I'm not going to give any closing remarks. I think that the board's heard what they've had to hear from our experts, obviously. So
the one thing we didn't talk about is parking. You know, we isolated a number of vans and a number of pickups. How do we make sure that doesn't double or triple, and we have people double parked, and we have valets, moving cars around. And I worked for Bloomberg in Princeton when I got out of college, and they have so many employees that they have 50 valets that work there that move the cars during the day, and the town allows it. I just want to make sure that we don't have a situation where we have 20 vans and 20 pickup trucks coming and going. Is there a way we can limit the number of vehicles to this property?
I think you've restricted it to the 5 vans and 2 pickups.
Okay, so we're going to put
yeah,
that
I'm
in
good
the
with
resolution?
that. Yes, yeah, and I mean, I think, like I said, I think that would constitute an intensification if a zoning officer observed that there's 20 cars at the site all of a sudden. Outside of party for the residential use, if it's a reoccurring situation. The only other suggestion I could have is that if we designate a parking area on the plan, and that's the parking area. The other, I'm just thinking at the top of my head that something that I would think that Mr. Scalera didn't put in his memo, but he might have wanted to include is some signage to keep the driveway clear so that there's clear access to the back of the property in case of an emergency.
That was actually my next question is, if this use grant is granted, do they get access to a sign? I mean, are they allowed to put up a commercial sign out front?
That's up to the board. They would not be able to get a sign at the front as of right from the zone. They'd have to come back before the zoning zoning board or planning board likely for a variance for that.
There would be a home
It
base.
would be here because, yeah.
Because of the use.
Yes.
It's an intensification because we don't have any
I just want to make sure that
signage.
there's no signs happening out front,
No.
No, not that this board has approved, so they don't have any rights
Right.
to that. I lost my train of thought on the other thing.
No, that's all I need. All right.
Were we designating this as a home-based business?
Oh, that's what
No.
I was going to bring up. Thank you for reminding me. Mr. Scalera's report might include something along the lines of his ability to inspect it. The fire official does inspect home offices, I believe. They have a whole database of them, of which I think Mr. Scalera had noted to me that he had never inspected this prior. So there may be a condition including that he has the right, or the fire official can inspect the property on an annual basis or biannual, whatever it is.
And you'll put that in his letter. I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was actually one of the items that we were, of course, willing to comply with in his report. So he actually asked if he could inspect the residential dwelling as well, which we said absolutely.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
Can I just add from zoning standpoint, if they're registering it, it would need to be registered as a home occupation?
It's not a home
No, it's not.
occupation.
But I mean for the office space?
No.
It's
They have
not
to
a
do
home
that too?
occupation.
No, it doesn't meet the definition of home occupation.
Right.
It's not in the realm of home occupation, nor do we want to start setting that
Right.
precedent.
Right.
All right, so that's it.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Silbert. Members of the public that would like to speak for or against this case, now's the time to join us and just need to stand up. Yeah, but you should come on. You can
Come
stand
on
up.
up.
Yeah. We have a microphone kind of right here.
What's one thing though?
All right. Just your name and address.
Oh,
Speak loud.
my name is Derek Bostia. I am the resident west of.
Sure, Derek, would you spell your last name, please?
B as in Bravo, Alpha, Sierra, Delta, Echo, Oscar.
I didn't get the last one, sorry.
Oscar.
Gotcha. Okay, would you raise your right hand,
Yes,
please?
sir.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just want to let you know that I'm his neighbor. It's been 2019, and the loudest thing I've heard there is the woodpecker banging on the trees. I'm up at 6 in the morning. I'm getting home 5, 6 o'clock in the night. There's no noise. The workers, I know when they come in, when they leave. These guys that come in, they park their pickup truck, get in their service truck, they leave to go to work, they come back. Which I felt strange that they would leave Harding Road alone and having to inconveniently having to go on William just to get back on 202 just to make the right, which is inconvenient for someone who's going to go make a living and have to go do work. I don't do that. I don't see why his workers would have to do that. Just so they could pass on Harding Road just to go onto 202. It's not necessary for them to have to go on William Street all the way down, make a right, then make another right just to get back onto 202. Where Harding Road is right there for them to use. The fence that separates Mr. Bush's property and my property, a couple woods that was broken, he fixed it automatically when I moved in. These guys have been quiet, been nice to me, I've been nice to them. I mean, I don't see there's no necessary for him not to operate. He's been there for so long. He's embedded there. I believe that he should stay. And now that I'm here, I have the opportunity to use the leverage on him. I need something, you have to know that I'm here. So that's the only reason why.
You said the quiet part out loud.
But yeah, if there's anything you need from me in regards to helping Mr. Bush stay, please, I'm here for any questions, anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good neighbor.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public that would like to speak? All right, seeing none. Rich, why don't you take us real quick through the conditions?
Sure, if there's an approval, the conditions that we spoke about included, of course, satisfying the soon-to-be revised fire marshal report. There'll be no tractor trailers, no box trucks used as part of any ongoing operation on site. This really goes without saying, but we've mentioned it a few times. Any modifications to the site or changes would require this board's approval. They will reduce the gravel area behind the garage to the township planner's satisfaction. Impervious will not exceed 32.8%, and that would include pulling back 10 feet from the rear yard line?
Yeah, I think they're seeking the design waiver for now if they can achieve the 10 feet, but
Okay.
I've recommended or requested that they do
Okay.
at least 10 feet.
We can do.
And that gravel area be reclaimed for landscaping and or tree planting.
Okay. No commercial truck traffic on site on any regular use basis. No bulk outdoor storage of any construction materials such as mulch, stone, or pallets. Okay, you'll amend the plan to identify the existing storage areas and then may not intensify those storage areas. Okay. Wasn't sure if you wanted this or not, but no more than 5 commercial vans and 2 commercial pickup trucks on site.
Are you okay with that?
I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, we do have we have 4 vans, 1 truck, and 2 pickups, so they're all.
I appreciate it. I think that in this exact moment in time that sounds great, but I don't know if that's going to be the case 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I think that the
What's the total parking on site? Right. Right. What's the?
We don't really need to exceed that.
Well, but you may grow, and what's the capacity?
You don't
What
wanna
could you
come
fit
back.
in there without double parking or creating an unsafe condition?
So what should the maximum commercial parking
Michael.
spaces be?
Up to 7 commercial vehicles, how's that?
Perfect.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Up to 7.
Up to 7. All right. So no more than 7 commercial vehicles parked on site.
Okay with that?
And the cars will be in addition, if there are any cars that they use.
The cars would not be commercial vehicles. They're registered as personal. I'm talking commercial registered vehicles, right? Okay. And that's
7
it.
max.
Yeah, 7.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich. Jim, why don't you kick us off deliberations?
I'm going to keep it simple. I'm glad you've been in Bridgewater all your life, and I'm going to give my vote to you so you can stay here and keep operating there.
Thank you.
All right. Mrs. Amin, your thoughts, please.
Looking at these pictures, I'm saying this property has a lot of nice trees and it looks so nice, and even though we have a little bit of more coverage issue, but it's very much better than the neighboring properties. And I'm saying this operation is going on for so many years. What's the problem? Let it continue, and I'm in favor of approving it.
Thank you. Mr. Swing.
I think the only reason why we're here is that historically, nobody knows what happened. And the way that went. But I think if we focus on where we are today, nobody has a problem with what exists there today. So let's keep it that way. Let's not let it intensify in any way, but let's let it run its current course. I'm in favor of the application.
Thank you. Mr. Prescott.
You know, I think I know what happened. I've been in town since 1979, and Bridgewater was a lot different then. I think Mr. Foos, Chairman Foos said it. They looked the other way, and nobody stopped long enough to get it done properly. And I really think that, and it was done that way because you were a trusted part of the community then, and that's why it was done that way. And I think that we should honor that and continue it. And I think it's a great case as always from you, sir. By laying it out quickly, giving us what we needed to know, and so I support it.
Thank you. Mr. Vessia.
From what was presented, I do believe that this business has been there for many years. The client is certainly a legislative member of the community, and I certainly don't want to have him lose operation because of this. Certainly want to make sure the resolution is, lots of guardrails on it, because as we know, the variances go with the land, and certainly don't want to intensify this use, and certainly want to keep it as simple as possible for what it is. So, considering the applicant and his history with Bridgewater, and unfortunately we're not able to produce any documents from Bridgewater, I'm okay with this.
Thank you, Mr. Gatter.
Yeah, again, you've been at this site and in business for longer than I have. The property is well maintained, it looks like. I live probably 2 miles from you and did not know you existed. So there's clearly no issue with noise or tons of cars going in or out. I have no issue with this. I would be inclined to support it.
Thank you. Mr. Bonjour.
I think it's a great local business. I think Bridgewater is very happy that you're still here and going to stay here. And I hope you stick around for a few more years, and good luck. And I'm in favor of the application.
Mr. Gasky.
Yeah, I'm certainly in favor of the application. I'm glad we're cleaning up and tying up some loose ends for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Seeker.
Yeah, with the longevity of the business, the way it's been in the neighborhood, it does not appear to be a detriment to the community anyway. As long as the current use, I guess, remains as our new baseline for the activity there, I would be in favor of it as long as nothing intensifies.
Thank you. Mr. Gulak.
I would agree. I think we have a long-term successful business. This gives an opportunity to provide a legacy of that business and continue it for as long as the generations might continue to operate that business. And then with the restrictions that we would impose, provide for the continuation of a similar use into the future. So I would support it as well.
Thank you, John. I agree with the board. I mean, there's really not much to add. There is one component of a D1 variance application, MOUL, that would refusal impose an undue hardship on the applicant. And you hit on this. This would be a family business, local jobs lost, and frankly, it's a gentleman that's contributed to our township, and I'm very appreciative to that. And I think, as Mr. Fresco said, I think your contributions and your reputation, they matter. I tell my kids all the time, it matters who you hang with. It's important. And thank you for everything you've done for Bridgewater, and I wish you the best of luck with your business. And I'm going to look to the board for a motion to approve.
I move.
That was Mr. Deli, and that was Mr. Bongiorno to second it.
Second.
Mr. Fresco to second it. We've got him on there. And Nancy, if you could call roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Bongiorno?
Yes.
Mr. Fresco?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mrs. Amin?
Yes.
Mr. Wydell? Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Chairman Food?
Yes.
Thank
Unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you all.
All right. Rich, why don't you real quick take us through Belly Holdings?
Congratulations, I worked with your firm a lot.
So Nancy, question on the expiration date that you have on Belly?
I think we have quite a bit. Good for you. Jeff Stagg, Jeff retired.
We're working together, so
Can you stick around for a few minutes after, so I can talk to you?
He's kind of like trying to retire at some point, right?
Yes, he has a passion for it, so it's just.
I just work with him in.
All right, Belly Holdings.
With Chris
So,
in Grass
Halloween.
And he got approved.
So,
Sorry, when?
Halloween.
Lots of warehouses.
10:31.
All right, and we didn't get an extension from them, so then I'll recommend to the board that we dismiss the application without prejudice so that they could bring it again if they decided
Can I have
to.
a motion to dismiss Belly Holdings without prejudice?
I want to also just put on the record,
Yeah.
aside from not getting the extension that we requested, there's been an escrow deficiency for some time now.
Okay, they can refile and
Yeah,
make it
just want to
current.
put that on the record.
All right, can I have a motion to dismiss Belly Holdings? Mr. Wiley, got a second, please.
Second.
That was Mr. Sweeney. Thank you.
Sorry, who made the motion?
Mr. Sweeney.
I was first.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you got more?
Let's call it.
Call roll on that?
Yeah.
Chairman Food?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mrs. Amin? Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Fresco?
Yes.
Mr. Bongiorno?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Going to call full,
No, seven.
That's good. Our next meeting I have is December 9th, is that correct?
No, look at Thanksgiving.
Nope.
Okay.
November 25th,
What case is coming out?
821 Bridgewater LLC.
All right, so our next meeting is November 25th, 7 p.m. in the courtroom next door.
Yes.
And with that, a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Thank you.
Yeah.